And with that said, we are ready for our main event of the evening, White Default, with Tasheka Arceneaux-Sutton and Cheryl D. Miller. We are incredibly honored to have them joining us this evening for this exciting discussion. And before we dive in, we would like to give a very warm congratulations to Cheryl on her most recent announcement of the Cooper Hewitt Design Award. Cheryl, as according to this Instagram post, is the first ever to win both the Cooper Hewitt Award and be an AIGA Gold Medalist in the same year. And we are incredibly excited that she's joining us. Congratulations again, Cheryl. Thank you so much for not only being an inspiration to all of us, but also making sure that we all design things that matter and share our wisdom with one another. So thank you again and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And Tasheka, we are so excited to have you here as our moderator. Tasheka is an incredible designer and educator with a recent appointment to the faculty of NC State. Her list of accomplishments is long and includes a BA in English from Loyola University and an MFA from the California Institute of the Arts. She is the principal designer at Black Voice Design. She has provided design services for the Museum of Contemporary Arts, HarperCollins, Loyola at New Orleans, Tulane, and Loyola Marymount. She is a self-described type enthusiast and enjoys hand lettering, typesetting, and employing a mixed media approach to typography. Tasheka's work as a researcher focuses on discovering Black people omitted from the graphic design history canon. She's also interested in the visual representation of Black people in the media and popular culture, primarily through the lens of stereotypes. She is the co-curriculum designer for Black Design in America, African Americans, and the African diaspora in graphic design from the 19th through the 21st century. Black Design in America is a series of pre-recorded, BIPOC-centered history courses. Her essay, A Black Renaissance Woman, Louise E. Jefferson, is part of a collection of essays in the book Baseline Shift, Untold Stories of Women in Graphic Design History, which releases October of 2021, so just in a few weeks. And with that said, I'm excited to hand it over to our featured guest this evening for the lecture.
Wow, thanks, Catherine, for that lovely introduction. I'm really excited to be here, and more importantly, to be here with this discussion with Dr. Cheryl Miller. We all know, or most of us know, all her accolades. She's a writer, she's an educator, she's an activist, she's a minister, she's an auntie, she's a mentor to a lot of us. And to be honest, if it wasn't for her, my research about a year ago sort of took a focus, and I started focusing in on the history of Black women in design. And I owe that specification of my research all to Cheryl, whom I actually met only 2 years ago. And she had a huge, and still has a huge effect on my research. I first met Cheryl as a part of her interview session she were having with people to be a part of her Stanford collection. And from that first meeting, every time I needed to talk to her about something, whether I had a question, whether I was unsure, whether I just wanted to pick her brain about something in regards to design history, she was always there. She's still always there, always available. So I'm extremely excited and happy tonight to be sharing this moment with Dr. Miller. And I want to say congratulations again to being an AIGA medalist. And also to being Cooper Hewitt Design Award, and the first ever person, woman, no matter what color, to ever receive these two awards in the same year. So welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you so much, Tasheka. And AIGA Boston, it is absolutely my honor to be with you tonight. Yeah, I, every now and again, my family and my husband's story behind the scenes especially in women in design discussions. He's always been there, and I answer those questions. And he's so proud of me. Okay, my family is so proud of me because they have been with me the whole way. And my brother is just amazed because he's my brother. He says, Cheryl, you should have given up a long time ago. And so he painstakingly did a spreadsheet, 100 years of all of the winners for AIGA, and I think 21 years for Cooper Hewitt. And there were like 6, 7, or 8 of the designers and awardees for both that existed, that they've won. There are about 6, 7, or 8 who have won both awards. And he put everybody on a spreadsheet, double check. He said, Cheryl, you're the only one that's done this in 1 year, both in 1 year. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. So I have to, I have a little, I have to chuckle, an overnight success that took 50 years. And so I am so happy, one, that I'm alive to be here to share. Boston, I'm so happy. Thank you to all of AIGA, all those who nominated and voted. And it's been quite a journey, the whole thing, okay? The whole way since I was a teenager. I don't know, I just had one little dream, and that, the story is all over the internet. I want to make sure that I leave something to inspire you not to give up at all. So I thank you. I thank everyone. And this is, it's a challenging, uncertain time, but the technology and pushing us into this arena of technology has allowed me to meet so many people, and I'm so grateful, and just thank you. So with that, I'm going to start this lecture, and I want to share something before I put it up. This is not to offend, okay? And there are areas that in the lecture there's a comic relief to it. And my hope is that it will challenge us to think about how we even go to chapter meetings together. Okay. How we are colleagues and friends with one another, and how we're in this assignment to birth new things in new ways and to do this together. And I think this lecture shows us really who we are, and may it inspire us to be better than we've ever been, and to be better than we are now, and to be our best for the future. So receive it with that. And we're in a different time and space that really must be addressed. And so with that, please enjoy White Default. I'm going to share screen now and start with it. White Default. This is a term, I take no credit for it. I gleaned from Jacqueline Iyama, and I met her at Harvard Grad Black Design Conference online virtually. And this is her term. She's a user experience designer based out of California. And it, to me, it speaks to this magnet force that I have lived through, that in many cases still exists today, but it exists in our hands to improve upon. And so with that, White Default, I want to celebrate Jacqueline's inspiration in my life for this lecture. This is, White Default is when whiteness is the litmus test for what is considered normal behavior, culture, and appearance. And this really, I call it magnetizing. Okay, magnetizing. It's just, we don't think about, somehow communications doesn't think about anyone other than itself in a dominant culture. And we can see some of the challenges now where even just emojis now are beginning to address just a variety of people, places, and cultures and things around the world. That to be inclusive just means that. And this is a little diverse skin tones emoji project that is going across all of the apps and Apple and so forth. It just shows that, you know, some thinking is moving forward. We've seen these JPEGs all around, and Ramon over at RISD and Ion Design, decolonizing, puncturing, decentering, whiteness. It's going across pedagogical and discipline lines. Every discipline in the industry is going through some type of press to decolonize itself. So we're sitting not only with ourselves, but it's just a move. Critical race theory, that's just because America has changed. Our audience has changed. And we are those that are in charge of communicating. This is, I've got to acknowledge this chart. You can see it in its full in my Black Designers Forward in Action, published October 2020 with print. I think it's article, it's the fourth article out of 4 for this series, my final. I told print I'm not writing on this anymore. I've solved it and we're moving forward. But this is a unique chart that really shows us our problem. This right here is our problem. And this is our Bible. I mean, we have different versions of this mainstay history book, you know, Drucker, Hollis. There are other versions, but this has been one that has cemented the canon in our heads and everything that we do. But when we really look at it in today's audience, it's problematic. And this chart is done, and I had it done for us for that article with print. And it shows us an analysis of 594 designers from basically Eurocentric white men, minus the 62 women, and the 80 are a Pan-Asian collection and 3 Blacks. This is our Bible that is dominant to 449 white male designers that want to teach us about graphic design. We've been totally indoctrinated. It is the truth. Even Cheryl Miller, okay? You can't get out of an ASAD and ASAD Academy canon without this book. And so this is, we're brain locked, and this is it. But this is the problem. And until we can face that, new editions have to include new faces, new situations, new stories, we're going to be, we're not going to have a future with this together. And I want to show you where this started. I'm going to give you my first example of white default. Barbie, 1959. I was 7 years old. 7 years old. And every kid in America wanted 1959 Barbie. Every little girl, no matter race, creed, or color, Mattel made, no offense, anorexic Barbie, okay, with this little striped bathing suit and a blonde ponytail. Magnet, as if there were no other little girl in the world. And 1959 Barbie and her introduction is the prime example of white default. Whoever came up with Barbie, they didn't, and you know, the product developers, designers, whatever they went through back in the 50s with Mattel, there was no choice and no regard to anyone else. And this is the way television and books, and it's just, I grew up like this, everything, all right? And then there are many pockets of media and communications, it's still this way. I'm gonna show you some that appear, you know, within the last couple of years. We're seeing, I collect them. I'm like, Oh my God, who's in charge? Well, Mattel now, white default, it's taken decades, but like Burger King, Barbie, you can have her your way. Any look, and even the Legos, toys, everything. There is a rich awareness to break up white default, and I thank Mattel for moving past 1959 Barbie. But 1959 Barbie is a prime example of white default. It just went magnet, that's it. Everything is white and nobody else exists, and you're gonna take it or leave it. Here's one of the issues in our performances, art directors and creative directors and marketing. A lot of times, and that's why there's so much training, we can't see the problem. White default can't see the problem. Now, let me show you Vineyard Vines. This is one of my favorite examples. This is holiday catalog. Okay, what could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong with a Vineyard Vines holiday catalog? All right, so what they've done is they're going to use their executives as models. Okay, and so us from New England, we know the look. we know the boat look. All right, we know Vineyard Vines, and Kelsey's in marketing, and Rafe is in marketing, and Adams is in sponsorship, and Nicole is in marketing, and Alex is in creative, and Eric is in sales, and they're wearing the best of boatwear, New England boatwear. Okay, look now, watch, holiday. All right, so you know the Vineyard Vine catalog, all right? What's a good Vineyard Vine catalog if you don't have something for the kiddies, right? The pajamas, it's Christmas, your patterns, your colors, all right? What could possibly go wrong? All right, and of course, the young women's wear, great shopping holiday. You'll be getting, if you haven't gotten it already, it's already in the mail. Okay, watch. Oh, Oprah comes by. Leah, look at this offense. Leah and Olivia, their dad, Manny, works on the construction team. White default can't see where it offends. Somebody let this go by. And you probably really might be looking, so what's wrong with that? Well, look, these are mixed kids or Black kids or Hispanic kids, whatever it is, their dad works in construction. And we're not looking at dad, Manny, in Vineyard Vine catalog selection, holiday selection, 2000. We're looking at his kids. That is really offensive, okay? And then you would tag it, Manny, who works on the construction team. Now, you know Manny isn't white. Okay, but they throw his kids up in a little boat wear. I'm like, really? And that's when Oprah comes up. She says, she takes care of this. And so will Black Twitter. White default does this stuff. And then all of a sudden it rolls out on a Friday, and Oprah, the media, and Black Twitter, Latinx Twitter, whoever's offended, is taken down. How could Vineyard Vines not see that? What an offense! All right. So let's look at it. Vineyard Vines doesn't care who buys if you can afford. White preppy men. If no one else is represented, they know their products are going to sell. But that's not really good business. Oprah agrees with me. She absolutely agrees with me. Okay, and then those who make the problem, you can't fix the problem. All right, white default tries to fix the problem. Somebody must have tagged them and said, you want to try that again? So this is 2019, okay? Summer catalog. Now, little better. We've got a BIPOC, a Black gentleman. All right. Now, what I don't know about him is does he own the boat? Is he the captain for the boat for the corporate party? Or is he a colleague? All right. So, and there's no team to say, well, does this look like he's in charge? What? Okay. So, all right, we put a Black man here, but what are we saying about him? For all I know, he could work for the leasing company, the yacht company. Okay. So I'm like, okay, so you try to fix it. White default finds and trends to define diversity with mixy solutions. Okay, what's very comfortable is mixed race kids. Mixed race kids, all right? Where it's obviously a curly hair, one is white and one is other. All right. And that seems to be a popular trend. This is how we solve it. Now, what seems to be acceptable, just sit back and watch television tonight, watch cable and watch the Cadillac commercials, watch your commercials. I say Cadillac, meaning your auto commercials and anything that's running. There is this overusage of white men with Black women and mixed kids in the back of the car. Is that how we define diversity? And is it over and over again, this model of a white man, this is acceptable, a white man with a Black woman and mixed kids in the back? I'm like, that's white default. That's how you define visual and design diversity. That's okay with you. But what made Twitter go crazy was the opposite with this young lady and the Cheerios commercial. Okay, this came out a couple of years ago. Dad was Black and the mother was white. Oh my goodness, what a rage. And the little kid is saying, you all are crazy. This is my father, this is my mother. Okay, and so white default finds trends to define diversity. And what's trending right now is white men with women of color. All right. And then the other thing that we do, we white default jumps on to trends. Have you noticed? I don't mean to offend, but we have an East Indian mixed vice president. Have you noticed how many East Indian women, okay, are in commercials? All right. And so we do these things instead of trying to find what really equality, equity, and inclusion really means. And we make these performative decisions and we really offend. And white default doesn't know how to straighten itself out with this. White default doesn't really know when it offends. This was a big one with Macy's. And corporations, they do these things and then they have to come out with these apologies. And this one is they had to apologize their holiday ad because they have traditional families, and the one with the Black single mom and three of her kids and no dad. Twitter had a field day with this. Who did this? This is so stereotypical. Where's the dad? Macy's had to apologize. This is one of my favorite ones. The corporate apologies, I collect them because I just don't understand how teams can't see this. And I'll give you an example why I think it requires training. When I was in the pastorate, I'm retired from the field. We used to do every Friday, we used to do the church bulletin. So at this one particular church, I asked the secretary, I said, listen, for the Sunday school page, can you go to Google and get me some church kids and put it on the bulletin? Well, she did that and came back and it was all white kids. And I'm like, can we get multiracial kids, but just go around the palette? right? Can we try again? Google image this, we came back, bulletin beautiful, another set of white kids. And I realized, I said, she can't see. It wasn't that there was anything wrong. She couldn't see it. I said, listen, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go try that one more time. I said, all you got to do is go to Google search and try to find a picture of kids, one of everything, one of everyone, just, like going to the buffet, just one of everything. It took her 3 times. And it wasn't anything negative. She could not see it. And that was, an exercise where I became clear. I don't think we see these things. And so a lecture like that makes us go, I never saw that. I never thought that. And that's why we have, so much training and sensitivity, awareness type discussions. You can't see. And this one, look at this one. This one said Twitter crazy. All right. A beautiful brown woman in matching t-shirt. She removes her t-shirt and she turns into a white woman because she used Dove soap. Well, see, look, this is not new. This is not new. So this is chromatology, lithography from chromolithography from back in the day. And look at the suggestion that soap is going to wash the little back then, I don't know whether he's supposed to be a little slave, a little Negro, a little colored boy, whichever way you're supposed to read it. The soap is going to wash in white. Look, this is not new. This is not new. This is where we get this from. This is who we are. This is who we are. This is who we've been, who we are. And my work has been, we can be better and we can be best in the future. Look at that. Look, this is not new. This has a history. Oh, this one is great. HM had to apologize. Monkey image. Okay, they're rolling out hoodies. Coolest monkey in the jungle. Who did that? What art director featured a little Black kid and throws on the hoodie that's being featured and sold, whatever size? Who did this? Coolest monkey in the jungle. Really? And the other one is survival expert? White Default does this. And unfortunately, in some of our classrooms, we allow this. We teach it. We teach our lack of awareness. Oh, this one is really good. This one is the Gap. Okay. And you say, well, what's wrong with that, Cheryl? Really? Well, let's look and talk about it. The Gap apologizes for racially insensitive ad. Well, you've got 3 white kids in superpower performance physical postures. One can stand on their head, one can twist in a knot, okay? And one is in charge over top of a little Black girl with dreads. That, Twitter had a field day with this. And Gap had to come out and apologize, okay? Subjugation at its best. Look at this. This is offensive. Who let this go? Who was the art director? Who was the creative team? All right. That's why it's important that diverse representation on their teams, they have to sit at the table of these discussions. Because White Default, if you don't let anybody in, you're going to keep doing this and seeing this. And, well, what's wrong with this, Cheryl? I'm like, well, think about it. Look how offensive that is. Power white kids over one little Black girl, minding her business. And look at the exclusion. Come on, let me put a lens. What else do you see? Everybody has on blue and white. Now, why doesn't the little girl have on blue and white? And don't tell me it's because she's got a pink t-shirt on that says love. Odd lady out. No good, guys. And you need team members, okay? You need help. I'm here to help, okay? Just walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in that little kid's shoes. You know, we are communicators. It's our job to not do this. White kids over this little girl, okay? She probably came to the shoot saying, why am I the only one that's got a pink? And then you might say, well, that's standout. She was in charge. I'm like, in charge of what? Look at this visual. Come on, Oprah, help me. Okay, now, white default, this is another thing we do. Thank you, Oprah. We mix people up. We mix them up. We mix, and then in African American news media, we mix everyone up. And then we got to go apologize. These are some of my favorites. Condoleezza Rice for Susan Rice. And do all dark-skinned Black women have to look the same? Angela Bassett with Omarosa Newman. Okay, and we do this. How do we know we do this? Because the apologies roll out. Oh, this one is one of my favorites, guys. Poor Aretha Franklin she's not even buried. She's not even buried. She's still in state, okay, laying out. And Fox News puts up Patti LaBelle for her picture and then corrects it with Gladys Knight. Oh, come on. That's really shameful. That's really, really shameful. All right. News Fox apologizes for using wrong photo during Aretha Franklin tribute. She's not even dead yet. And they mix her up with Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight. I'm like, okay, all right. I you know, when I lecture and I teach, I want us to be responsible. Responsible. Now this one's tough. Stay with me, Oprah. Stay with me. Miller, you gotta be kidding. I'm like, no, Oprah, I'm not kidding. This one's hard. White default, here's your test. Which one is which? Or even, do you even know who they are? I'm gonna let you pause there a minute. You might not even know who these gentlemen are. Okay, let alone mix them up. But this one's tough. Do you know who they are? Take your time. Only you know whether you know, and only you know if you can tell the difference. White default, how did you do? We have John Lewis, civil rights leader, Georgia, United States House of Representatives, and Elijah Cummings, civil rights leader, Maryland, US House of Representatives. Okay, that's tough. That's tough. And when you're not sure and you're responsible for photo editing or calling for, you know, image, call on your content subject expert. Don't go out there alone. Okay. Don't go out there alone. But this, and white default does this. This is Adonis Hoffman. Okay. Georgetown University. And the Tegna CEO has to apologize to him. He's invited to a board meeting. They're reviewing him to be on the Tegna board. They leave the boardroom. A full introduction, like you introduced me and Tasheka tonight. Board, can we vote on him? Okay, the board meeting is over. They go down to the narthex of the hotel, and the CEO turns to Hoffman and says, are you the car valet? Can you go get my car for me? I'm like, every Black man runs the parking lot? Poor Amanda Gorman. Do you remember Amanda Gorman? No sooner did she get off the center stage of the inauguration, the security guard at her hotel, she was tailed. Do you belong here? Do you live here? Oh, by the way, I was just on national TV, global, all around the world. You know, I recited the poem at the inauguration. Amanda Gorman. You have to take your time. Take your time. White Default, Black Twitter, and Oprah, they have a way of taking care of these things. Now, this is Tamika Ellington at Kent University. She lectures on the role of design and the perpetration of anti-Blackness and white supremacy in the fashion industry. And I don't know why the industry thinks that these are acceptable fashion statements. And if you're sitting there and you don't know why, write me on LinkedIn and maybe we can work on this privately. Okay, look at this. Blackface and the lips and the braids and oh my goodness, we think that this is okay. Why do we think this is okay? Because Prada says it's okay, Gucci says it's okay, so it's okay. All right. Turbans and oh, this is my favorite, the little black Pez. This is new stuff, guys. This is not Pez back there with 1950 Barbie with me. Okay, this was a couple of Christmases ago. All right. Burberry apologizes on the runway, a noose with just because it's got Burberry plaid. And then Ralph Lauren goes and takes HBCU logos from the fraternities and put it on cargo pants. Oh, gracious. Okay. Prada and Gucci, this is their favorite pastime. No. What about this isn't clear? So even if you don't understand it, how about it's offensive? It's racist. Okay, it just doesn't work. So even if you don't understand, well, why is everybody so all worked up about it? So because I told you. So now you know. You don't have to understand. Cheryl told me. Okay, Cheryl told me don't go this way. Don't go this way, guys. Prada and Gucci, and I don't know. I think they roll this stuff out, get a big splash on Friday. They sell everything out on Saturday, and then Black Twitter takes them down on Monday. I need somebody to do some stats. How did this affect the stock market with this kind of stuff? Oprah agrees with me. She really does. White default, it's important to recognize the color nude. What is flesh tone, guys? What color? Is it really just pinky peach? What does flesh tone mean? What does nude mean? Okay, so now we've got designers who are tackling it, and the makeup. I love the ballet slippers. We have this Black entrepreneur. She's made a line of nude shoes. And so you guys know what nude shoes are. You're supposed to, that's just it. The shoe matches the skin tone and your stockings and so forth. Women of color, we never had a variety of flesh tone nude shoes. Band-Aid, Crayola's got color of the worlds, all right? Different type stockings now. All right, it's getting a little better. But look at the bottom right. White default, here's another test. If we were on gallery and you talk back to me, you will. What's right or wrong with the picture on the right? Okay, at the bottom. So you show the diversity, of stocking, coloring of the women's legs, et cetera, but you put everybody in 1959 white nude shoes. That's not white, those are nude, what we call nude. That would be nude for a white woman. I'm like, no, if you're gonna do it, come on, guys. We're in charge. That's our job. Let me show you some history notes. This is from one of my lectures, one of my first lectures. You know, the Renaissance, Jesus didn't become white until the Renaissance. These are my vacation pictures. All right, and just a little art history from Jansen. Just a little, not much. All right. The Byzantines taught the Russian Orthodox Church, 12th century, how to paint Christ. All right. And then he turns white. He turns white in the Renaissance, and Jansen and everybody else starts right there. But I've seen Black Jesus. I've been to Croatia. I've been to Greece. I've been in the alleyway. These are my vacation pictures. And guess what? I've been to the Vatican too. And Jesus didn't turn white until the Renaissance, I think 1453. This sign, this is from the Civil Rights era. Is European art the only art? No, demand Black art, but demand all type of art, all types. When Jesus, I make jest, I have to. When Jesus in Egypt, he stuck out like a sore thumb. These are, this is white default, and Meg's and history art, they just, Jansen and Meg's, these are, this is the New Testament and Old Testament. This is sacred books. And we don't see this. And I could kind of go along with this if I haven't traveled the world and I've seen Black Jesus in the alleyways. I have a little saying, gelato, Gucci, chapel. Repeat. If you've been to Europe and the Mediterranean, it's cafe, espresso, gelato, Gucci, chapel. It's the alleyways in Europe. And if you hustle down one of the alleyways into the chapels, you'll see Black Jesus. We're making new history. We're writing new stories. We're giving new lectures. Okay, we've got to break up this story. I'm here to tell you, I've seen Black Jesus in Greece, in Italy, Croatia, all the way to Montenegro. I have seen him in the alleyways. So you can tell me all you want that he's only in the Vatican, and I can say, no, my vacation pictures and a little trajectory of art history shows me something entirely different. Aha, you're listening now, Oprah says. You got me intrigued, Reverend Miller, Dr. Miller. Listen, here's one. I love it. I love it. This is one of my decolonizing lectures. And, it starts in the 1400s there, and we're, the canon. I don't have to lecture to you. You know the canon better than I do. But this is a decolonizing juxtaposition synoptic view. We spend hours on Caslon, and we spend hours on Garament. We spend hours on the Seraph. Okay, we spend hours on it, and we show you, the canon shows you beautiful Bible illuminations. You guys can teach that stuff better than I can. But in my class, I'm going to show you that. I have a responsibility to teach you the canon and to also show you what the colonizers did with the technology of Caslon and Baskerville, et cetera, et al. My favorite lecture is juxtaposing this technology against the transatlantic slave trade. It's all running the same time. And our main colonizer, who's in charge of this technology, that we only look at Bible inscriptions, Britain, and their tobacco branding. And then we talk about the lithography. Look at their branding and their usage. These are tobacco sleeves. So they use the Caslon and the Baskerville and the lithography and the branding for the tobacco sleeves. These are the sleeves for the leaves, okay? Here's the branding, watch it. Look at the imagery. This is your colonizer. This story is critical race theory that needs to be told right along with Meg's. So my classes, yes, I'm not going to undo the canon. You must know the canon. It's what we're governed with. But you also have to know that the same ones that we lift up, their colonizers are branding tobacco specifically in a manner, using the technology, and here's the strategy. Made in America, which shows the little slave image, by London. So you have the white man, the white master, the white captain of the ship. You can Google this if you don't believe me. There's no fake news to this. This is Virginia, Williamsburg, colonial, transatlantic slave trade, juxtaposition of our studies of serifs, Caslon and Garamond, lithography, and the printing press. Your main colonizers use this technology to brand sleeves with a strategy. Little slaves made in America, overseen and governed autocratically by the white captain of the ship or the owner of the plantation. I'm not making this up. This is visual communications and this is graphic design history. In fact, you experts can tell me what typeface this is. You're selling slaves using the technology of the era. There you go, Virginia planters. Okay, there's the imagery. Made in America by London. Here's another example of how I decolonize. I'm not taking away. I want you to see. So our industrialization era, you guys know that. You teach it better than I can. We just focus on William Morris. Of course we do, we have to. He's one of the main apostles of the canon, okay? But William Lloyd Garrison is using the same technology. And he's working with Frederick Douglass and they're printing their press and their story, Free the Slaves. The usage of the technology is broader, and you've got to see it. You got to embrace it. The letterpress, the whole history, okay? So we focus on William Morris. I focus on William Morris, but I'm also going to tell you there was William Lloyd Garrison using the technology to free the slaves and to empower Frederick Douglass. Oh, let's talk about lithography. Now, come on, you guys, Victorian era, you know the history better than I do. You do. All right. And what we have here is the chromolithography and the minstrel. What I'd like to do is, I have more to this lecture, and I want to stop here because I need to make sure I have my most current PowerPoint. We're working here, but I've got some things I really want to show you that's really important. So can we pause a minute? And how is my time? How are my conveners? Let me see. Oh no, I'm going right. I have the right PowerPoint up. This is so if you think about your lessons with the chromolithography, where the lithography turns to color, you guys know that when you're teaching that, right? This is how it was also used, the minstrel ads. You don't see these. You don't teach that. But I want to show you how when we talk about chromolithography and lithography, I'm going to show you this is how you guys, white default used it also. I'm not going to take away from the circus and the beauty ads and all of that. I'm going to show you this too. You must know this. We're responsible for the new images. Oh, my favorite discussion is the Harper brothers and the birthing of editorial and ads. Okay, isn't this fun? Oh, let's not fat shame or body shame anybody. With the birthing of ads, let's not do that. Do we have to do that? Yeah, I guess we do, huh? Come on, wife, before we do it to ourselves even. Simple recipe for muffins, so she looks full of them, right? Right. No Barbie there. Oh, and my favorite. Look, there's a whole history of Aunt Jemima, and she started with the minstrels. All right, and all of the discussion. She's had a history, and all of the brands now that are changing and becoming more visually equitable. She leads with a history. And it starts back here. She was a part of the minstrel shows and moved into plantation life. And oh, look at this relationship here. This one is 1898. Okay. Look at all these attendants around this white woman. This is good stuff. It gets a little better, maybe 1940s, but the doorman and the prominent white exec, wealthy white man, carrying the luggage and into the new luxury ride, right? Okay, but this is our history. This is who we are. Our practitioners before us. This is what we did. Yep, and of course, you got to have your Kentucky bourbons and so forth. Try that now, okay? Try doing an ad like that now. See how far. Where's Oprah? Where's Oprah when you need her? Now here it gets a little better, and the history of in my generation or my era of high performance begins what we call segmented marketing. This is about the 40s. They realized that the Negroes were consumers. And so the advertising and cola, all the colas were a big thing. This is from the 40s. And it's moving a little better. Okay, positive images of Black families and better posture, in terms of culture and society. They realized that the Negro was a consumer. And so the ads shifted a little bit. Okay, now this comes into my heyday. Okay, trust me when I tell you this. Black folks just didn't show up on McDonald's commercials because McDonald's one day woke up and said, oh, let's put Black folks in our ads. No, I've got an article, there's an article online. How did Black folks get into advertising anyway? Well, in New York City, there was a press, Roy Wilkinson and all of the Tom Burrell, and there's just a whole movement of, and it's all online. And in my lectures, I have all my notes to the history of advocacy, the NAACP, the Urban League, the Ad Council. There was a press. If we as consumers are eating hamburgers, drinking cola, eating French fries, and then there was cigarette. If we are your Marlboro men and smoking your Winstons and Kent, if we're doing all of this, then one, we should be employed in your ad firms. Two, we should be in your ads. We just didn't show up. There was advocacy in New York City to demand. If we are your consumer and we're eating and drinking and smoking and living your products and buying them, we're going to make the ads. We're going to be in your agencies, and you're going to put us in your advertising. And when I was a younger woman, you always hear me talk about, Cheryl, how in the world did you get all this work? Well, I hit a wave. I hit a trend. I hit a movement of this advocacy, the early 80s. And I always have people locate me. All right. I'm in the era of New York City, of Halston is down in Studio 54, and Andy Warhol and Basquiat are down in Chelsea. And there was Cheryl Miller, 353 Lexington Avenue, hitting a women in business, minority in business thrust with New York City and New York State. And then the tension of what was called then segmented marketing. And I was there. I was there doing corporate communications. There were primary ad agencies. I'm not an ad agency lady, okay? There was Carolyn Jones, Byron Lewis, Tom Burrell. There were only a few that met the need of providing what they called then segmented marketing. And I'm not an ad lady. I make publications. I'm a corporate communications lady. And so thus now I've got this genre of social impact corporate communications. And I had this incredible business model. The Fortune 500 companies said, we don't know how our fancy books, our social responsibility publications, our annual reports, our things that say that we are wonderful. We have to start putting people of color in. Can you do that, Cheryl Miller? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. How much of that do you want done? And then, I was blessed enough to be able to do it well enough that the national organizations, the African-American organizations that they sponsored, they sent me over as in-kind service to help them with their corporate communications. Thus, I got on the national level with United Negro College Fund, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the Urban League, all of this. So one client made two because I was the lady doing corporate communications with a firm and a lease on the 15th floor. Okay, I had to do business. And the business in town was, I was a woman, I was a minority, and can you put folks of color in corporate communications? Can you put folks of color? Okay, I'm like, we don't know how to do that. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And one client led to the next. And then it parlayed and moved into the national, it bounced back and forth. One Fortune 500 company, the biggest one was Time Inc. And I always shout out my first client, the first Black female art director, Michelle Renee Spellman Cobb, was the first Black art director for Sports Illustrated. And I had moved into New York City, and she gave me a freelance job and put me on an affirmative action list for women in business in New York City. I had no idea she recommended me as a vendor. And now I have this story. It was a Black first. I say, Michelle, I know you were the first Black female art director of Sports Illustrated, 1984. I know. You were my client, and you put my name on a qualified minority vending list for New York City and their initiatives for women. There's a history, guys. There's a story. A new book out. It's on my bibliography for my class. I want to shout out to University of Texas. They've been like, Miller, can you come by? We want you. Anybody? I'm by invitation only these days. Okay. Yes, it'd be my pleasure. University of Texas, Austin Design. Shout out. Thank God for Zoom. I'm there. This is on my bibliography list. Professor Jason Chambers, Madison Avenue, and the Color Line. There's a history. Breaking news, I don't want to offend. And this is why we want to do what we can do to grow and to grow together. This is not to scare you. This is not to affront you. This is to share with you the main reason why we have to come to the table so we don't make these mistakes, white default. We need one another. Breaking news. This is last week, week before. The US will never be a white country again. I'm sorry. I'm a visionary. I've only been saying this since 1985. And now here we are. Somebody asked me what I see next. Miller, what do you see next? I'm like, well, one thing I know I see next, if we don't embrace that the demographic of our client, our student body, our professionals that walk with us, talk with us, the professors, the academy, I can tell you one thing, if we don't do this together, there will be no us. Because for the first time since the census began in 1790, this is painful. The majority is becoming the minority, and we need each other. We need each other. I want to point out Lesley University, want to shout out Professor Sansone article that just posted today, and AIG educators, please, please, please. Lesley received me last semester, and we thought about it. And I shared with Professor Sansone, these are the things that I had to do to cross over, to be accepted, to compete. I said, if we can take some of this stuff that, I call it my secret sauce, and just mix it in, and let's reframe. These students, I said, I'm concerned that you've got a majority, I think it was 70%. The article has the exact data. I don't have it in front of me. It dropped this morning. This is so important to hear. And I know that it can upset us, but let's do this together. We've got to do this together, because a Pew report and census 2 years ago, there are more white deaths than births. That was a headline. There are more mixed babies than white babies. That was a couple of headlines last year, 24 months ago. And now we've got a statistic for the first time in the census. We will never be a white country again. Like my mother from the islands used to say, man, you can't undo the coffee. Now it's been stirred with the cream. We're not going back. We're not going back to wearing no seatbelts. Remember that? No seatbelts? What was seatbelts? You can't get to the airport now in 20 minutes. No, wait, it takes 4 hours to get on a plane. This is not returning. And if we don't adjust, and if we don't lean and glean and learn from each other, no one's going to have tenure. No one's going to have tenure, because there won't be any schools. The schools that are prospering are the ones that are addressing the new demographic and the new audience and globalization. And the article today, Professor Sansone, she recognized an issue in her classroom, just in her classroom. I won't say the whole college, I don't know, just her classroom. There were so many BIPOC kids, and squeezing everybody into that MEGS wasn't making any sense. And the truth is her article today and what she did. And I am proud to say she saw a problem, came up with a solution, and 70%, I think it is, 70% of the kids got jobs. Her graduating class got jobs within 3 months of graduation. And I was concerned when we started, God knows I know a capstone and a thesis. That's why we're here today. Okay. I was concerned for these young scholars, scared to death for them. Why? Because it's hard as a BIPOC designer, period. It's hard to be a designer. So forget adding all this other stuff on top. It's near impossible through the era that I grew through. So first off, it's hard. And all of you all can give me a hearty amen. It's hard. 2, be someone other than white. Don't be white default and see how hard that is. Okay. And then you take it and you throw it on a pandemic and you can't walk around and you don't walk around New York with a Black portfolio anymore. I said, these kids are not going to, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it in a pandemic because it's hard. And they have to have a courage and a strength and a savvy. And Professor came up with a strategy, and I'm proud to say she did her data. She named names and jobs. Her BIPOC design students, 70% of her class, I think it is the data is there. Don't quote me. The data is in the article today. All right. They got jobs 3 months after graduation. And we just twisted the process a little bit. And I gave her some of my secrets. I said, listen, can we do it this way? Do this a little this way. Because the truth, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. If you're a professor, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to leave you with this. You're going to get hair projects. You're going to get carnival projects. You are going to get out of the box raw storytelling. And if you think all of that's going to fit into your Swiss grid, and you're worried about your tenure, you're worried about admissions, if we don't grow together and take my inspiration here seriously, there will be, you want to say, Miller, what do you see? Since you saw that 40 years ago, what do you see? I'm going to see, I'm already seeing, follow me on LinkedIn. My son, he graduated, he moved to Washington for a job, and I'm helping him, pack. I'm looking at t-shirts. And I said, son, there are no logos on these t-shirts. He said, oh, we don't do that anymore. He's Generation Z. We don't do that anymore. I'm like, well, what do you do? No branding? He says, oh no, we don't do that. It's a little stitch. It's a little square that's tucked down into the, at the tail of the shirt. It's nothing ostentatious, pretentious. There's no logo, no branding. He says, oh no, either you know that you're wearing Lululemon or whatever these things are. Like, no logos? He said, mine, no logos. That's old school. I'm like, okay. We've been talking about brandless. Well, guess what? Brandless is here. So Miller, here's your test. Let me show you the difference. St. John, I opened up with this slide. Look at that. You said, Cheryl, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, come on, look. You got that white model in front of the Black model, and her shoulder is tipped. You create a visual hierarchy of some type of superiority. But look at the one down at, whoever the art director, just twist her so they're equal footing. Just twist it. You're the one that's in charge. You're the creative director. You're the art director. You're the executive design director. Just pay attention. And the little things that I'm just so used to doing by white default, like it's magnet. Remember that I came by tonight to say, take your time. There's a whole wide world. Zoom connects us. I'm teaching my kids, listen, guys, at UT, I'm like, record, make record that we are many design teams on Zoom. Repackage that in the middle of a pandemic. Tell someone on your online portfolio that you can team, collaborate, and design, and you don't have to fly in. Okay, make something of this. We've got opportunity. So can you run a design team on Zoom? Yes, I can. You've got to make lemonades out of lemon. Life as BIPOC, you get lemons, and you've got to learn how to make lemonade. And so now I'm telling them, listen, you better bullet point this, that you're collaborating with you. I break them up into design teams. What is this, breakout rooms and all of that? I said, you better tell somebody you can design using Zoom. Okay, because you'll be the one that will Zoom in and take the job and be BIPOC and say that I know, I talk about the difference between global design and international design. I won't keep lecturing. Read Professor's link article today. She was honest with the situation and she just ran into crazy Cheryl Miller. And I just said, look, this is what it takes to be BIPOC. That's all I did for a semester. Like, Professor Christina, this is what it means to be a BIPOC designer. Okay? And all I know, the way to right wrongs is turn the light of truth upon them. Ida B. Wells, everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know. Cheryl, who's your mentor? I didn't have a design mentor. Nobody gave a hoot about me. I had to figure this thing out myself. No one. I had writing coaches though, which is interesting. I ended up writing, okay, and got trained. This is a whole nother story. How in the world did you become a writer on scholarship? Well, that's a whole nother. Thank God for Ion Design and this award today. The story, the article that was written about me, it tells you the whole journey. And I am the mentor that I never had. So I love Zoom, I love LinkedIn, I love Instagram. All right. I'm just good neighbor. If I see a green light on, Cheryl, can you talk? Absolutely. Absolutely. No matter what I'm doing. If I see your green light on, Cheryl, can I talk? Miss Miller, can I talk? I'm like, my pleasure. I live to talk to you. I live to share with you because I didn't have anybody. And, and I thank God that I have AIGA, today's AIGA. Okay. I've put things behind me now. And so that's what I have for you today. Be inspired, Boston. Be inspired. And we have a responsibility for the next generation. And you say, Ms. Miller, you saw it 40 years ago. What do you see? I see we can do this. I see us coming together. I see collaboration. And I see us being truthful. International design and global design. We sit together. Because honestly, sometimes these projects, I've seen the projects come by and you go, I'm like, it's all right. Let's celebrate it. And listen, I got to shout out. I'm on the reviewing team for One Club, the Young Guns. I am a judge, and it's so refreshing because I know that the juror pool is diverse, and I see the young designers. I'm looking at them. We're in another round of judging, and I know that they are being reviewed and juried fairly because of the juror pool. And that's your critique. And we had the most diverse, prominent juror team for our crit. And I'm proud to say those scholars, 2021 in the middle of the pandemic, 70% BIPOC jobs and graduate admissions, a future in 3 months after graduation. I thank Leslie for the opportunity of having me to stop by. I thank Boston for having me. I thank AIGA, and I am very humbled. When I was scheduled to come, I had no idea that I knew AIGA, but I did not know that these two awards would collide in a way in 1 year in the middle of pandemic that would give us an attention that gives everybody says, well, what are you going to do now? I said, well, I'm not retiring and I'm not expiring. Okay. It's giving me voice to give you the same message that I've been saying now since I was a teenager. Just be fair. And you say, I always get the question, Ms. Miller, what can I do? Adopt a spot. Wherever you are, adopt a spot. And just be fair. And if you get stuck, I'm on LinkedIn. That's white default.
That was great, Cheryl.
Listen, I love my design community, and so do all of the practitioners. It's just time we all are invited to the wine and cheese and that gallery openings and feel comfortable. Like, you know, you walk in and you're the elephant in the room. I'm like, oh, listen,
Yeah.
Tasheka, my pleasure. And if you listen, everybody, you see my green light on, you better catch me. Tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised.
That green light is true. She sees that green light on, she will call you.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it doesn't matter. I'm on everything, Facebook, and I know, you know, Messenger, Instagram, LinkedIn. If I see it, you know, is that Miss Miller? Yes, that's Miss Miller. Because nobody wanted to talk to me. You know, nobody wanted to help me. So there you go, Boston, AIGA Boston. God bless you. God keep you. Got questions, and a lot of times you just want to talk. So if you want to come up to the mic and talk, Tasheka's got some questions. Go ahead, love.
So you referred to Christina's article, the We Won, I Had a Hunch, and she credited you a lot for the success of her students, that percentage of their graduation during the pandemic. And one thing that I noticed that she showed in her article was the projects that you had. So I think she showed something like 4 out of 5 projects had some kind of international influence. And then one was DNA. And I know, and I've heard you repeatedly sort of talk about the future or the new designer, or these group of designers, especially the ones that you had at Leslie as the hybrid ethnographic designer. And so can you speak to, at this point in design, what made you, or what did you see sort of in the past that made you realize, hey, these sort of more global international projects are what's important to teach these kids now?
It's easy, Tasheka. For me, because I had to compete. It's what I did. I just told professor, this is what I did. I don't, you know, I don't mean to keep, okay, but I'm a Black designer and I'm award winning. I've been winning awards since I was 10 years old. What in the world did you do, Cheryl, against the odds? I just told her how I structured my portfolio. I made it clear. I made it crystal clear that I knew international design and typography. I don't want anyone to ever think that I can't command that grid. Like Picasso says, to know the rules is to break them. So I said, you've got to show Black kids and kids of color, and now they're all every kind of which way from where their origins, beautiful places around the world. They come for these fine educations. These are the best design schools in America. And all they are taught is international. Okay, so you got to prove this is corporate America. This is corporate America, where everything is a grid and Helvetica and what I call United Healthcare Catholic School Blue, even the AIGA Blue, everything. Okay, you've got to be able, you want a job. This is corporate America. You've got to be able to present, oh, I got that. I got that, I can do that. I went to the best. I went to this, that, and the other. Okay, so the portfolio has to show. I just told her what I did to succeed. I set my portfolio was strategic. And this is during the time when you had to carry it around and you had that much time to win a client. I had to be able in 2 publications to say, oh, I got corporate work. This is not, okay, Miss Miller, we don't need to see anything else. Can you write a proposal? So the first thing is the portfolio and that chart. I said, Christina, this is the way I set my portfolio up. I said, it's competitive. The dominant eye has to see that I can do corporate America. That's what this is. It's business, guys. And then they would send me over to, the Black organizations. Well, I had to show that I could do them too. Okay. So, and to make improvement. So all I did, it came from me. It came from me. This is how I did it. I gave Christina, this is, I said, this is how I set up my portfolio. It wasn't any great, where'd you get it from? In order for me to make it, I organized the portfolio. So immediately, without question, a client could see I had corporate America. And it was an icebreaker. Immediately. Because I'm so unique, even my stature, I'm mixed. And so people are like, oh, okay, what is this? You got to get past all of that when you're BIPOC. What is this? Because, I'm not physically Black, but I'm not physically white either. And I'm in New York City, guys, so I'm like, it's got to be the work. If I didn't have any favor, it's got to be the work. And so my work, all I did was say, Professor, this is how I organized my portfolio. No, this is nothing. Where did I get it? Where I see it? This is what Cheryl Miller did. And then what I call the Black projects, I put them in another, like, okay.
That's something that's interesting you mentioned. There is a question, but I want to comment on what you just said, because I remember graduating from graduate school back in 2007. And a lot of the work in my portfolio at the time, the content dealt a lot with Black history, identity, content, some of it could have been considered controversial or whatever, stuff that I was studying in grad school. And I had a hard time getting a job. And not until I took some of those pieces out. I had to take them out. So for me, I had to take some of me out, which hurt. The fact that I couldn't genuinely be myself and just sort of ride on my education and the skills that I had. I knew I was qualified for these jobs, but I wasn't given a chance because, I had a book in there that was called Yes, I'm an Angry Black Woman, or other books that said Black Like Me, or these kind of things. They couldn't see past the content, and instead of being embraced, to know that I come from a different perspective, I was looked over. And not until I sort of took those pieces out, then I got noticed. So one question that I have is that I was a juror at Leslie for that group of students. And one thing to hear now that that the majority of those students got work is I noticed that their portfolio were filled with those type of projects that were personal. I remember one was called SAG or sagging,
Oh yeah, that's Denisha.
Yeah. And so I think it's great that now, students don't have to do that. They don't have to sort of whitewash or filter out those projects. They can be authentically who they are and still get work.
And so my point is, okay, now everyone wants, if I'm LinkedIn, Cheryl, who do you recommend? I need a Black designer. I need a diverse designer. Okay, now you're Vogue. We're Vogue. So that's why I'm saying be intentional, be bold, be unapologetic, and say, I am a hybrid ethnographic designer, which means I got a global design sensibility and perspective, and I can sit at your international design team too. Okay, so it's advantage now. And so I'm telling the kids, it's advantage now. So show the recruiter, show your client, show that you can do global design, which is more, it doesn't take away. What I want to say to my majority dominant culture audience is, I agree. The canon, I agree. international design. I agree. And, not but, and there is more. And if you want to prosper, you got to let more in for your own well-being. Okay, and so with that, if a diverse designer of any color is coming out of these programs, they can design with their eyes closed. And it would be to your advantage. You'd be to your advantage to have a diverse designer on your team, if not several, and as creative directors in charge of the table and the yellow stickies.
And on
Because of white default, you can't do it by yourself. We need each other, okay? And until you can kind of feel it, like there's nobody in your class, there's nobody in your school, there's nobody in your shop, until you can feel it, all right? And I'm telling the kids now, you're equipped. You're equipped in both, and just position it like Cheryl Miller did so they can clearly see. See, they're not gonna understand your carnival stuff. Okay, they're not going to understand that. So, okay, put it over there on another, okay, let them know that you can do corporate America. And then you let them know that you can do Zoom design, and let them know that you can do research. The first student out of the graduating class in Professor Sanson's class, the first one to get a job was she was the keynote. First one to get a job from Portugal. What a portfolio. Maddie's portfolio. Oh my God. First one. First of the class, pandemic 2021.
Yeah.
I said, you be bold. I said, from the minute, you be bold with this. Don't hide it. Don't take it out. Pull it forward. I'm like, what an international global, this young designer. You watch for her. Oh my goodness. And Denisha, the ones that are featured in the article, and Dominique, oh my goodness. And you can't walk out of these pristine design programs and not be able to do corporate America, but you've got to be able after to help people bridge. You've got to be able to be unapologetic and to sell. Look, I can do flush left Helvetica and blue. What's to that? But can you research? Like my first project at UT, I'm teaching branding for diversity. Thank you, UT. Before we're off designing anything, I said, I want everybody researching mirror boards. I said, back into McDonald's. Show me McDonald's around the world, and I want to see the research. That was our first assignment. And I'm talking about those presentations. If they aren't design team ready, they unpacked McDonald's, India, Turkey. I'm like, I learned more about McDonald's around the world. That was our first project. We want a brand for diversity. Start with take a North American brand and put it someplace completely, we all know what New York City, Los Angeles, Atlanta, McDonald's looks like. I gave the next project. Okay, now that you've learned to do the research, and we analyzed McDonald's around the world. I said, pick a North American brand, and I'm going to tell you where you're going to design. You're going to design in the Philippines, and you're going to design in Ghana. Pick one and give me the research, give me your deliverables, learn something. I learned so much about McDonald's in India, and the comparison, they did these comparisons of new foods and regional foods. Prepared. And you're going to tell me UT Design didn't teach them international? Of course. Leslie, you're going to tell me they didn't teach international? Yeah, RISD, all of them, everybody. You can't graduate unless you do. Pass the canon. But in these schools with different geographies and regions, this class that I'm teaching, these presentations, I'm like, wow, I learned more about McDonald's because I critical research the religion. What can we do? What they can't eat that. They can't do that. They can't use that color. It's a whole wide world of brand new, Tasheka. A whole, and all I did with this class that got jobs, I just shared with the professor, this is how I organized my portfolio. And everybody who studied with me and in my shops and everything, this is how we won. We exhibited corporate America first. And then there were clients that would say to me, well, you got anything else? I'm like, well, funny you should ask, of course. Okay. And so compete. This is advantage now. This is advantage. Don't hide it. Listen, listen, you know what I see? Okay, what are the big fancy firms now? You know, Pentagram is still there. I can see Pentagram coming in. Oh, we got to do international. We got to do a carnival in Monaco. You know, the Riviera. You know, anybody know how to do that? Then all of a sudden, we could. You know, yeah. So I'm saying, present yourself. You got corporate America, and say, look, you know what? Where are we? Hong Kong, Monaco, Portugal, Mexico. This is how we go. And then, oh, how about that? They can speak the language. White default, try to speak a language on Zoom. Google Translate. Anybody got Google Translating? Oh, next question. I love this. You know, be inspired. Be inspired.
I work at an organization in marketing. If we invite BIPOC models for a photo shoot to include them in our publication, are we tokenizing them?
Say it again.
I work at an organization in marketing. If we invite BIPOC models for a photo shoot to include them in our publication, are we tokenizing them?
Well, if it's performance, if it's just performative, if you really mean that the product is for everybody, no. But if you know, it has everything to do with the heart, the empathy, the sensibility. If you're being earnest, of course, bring everybody in. If it's just performative, people do things to, you know, make themselves look good.
Also, tokenism usually refers to when it's like the only one. So to avoid that, like, don't just invite one BIPOC model, invite several BIPOC.
Several. There you go. Thank you. That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
There's a message here.
Poor thing be the only one. I'm like, really? I'm the only one? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a message here from Michelle Salmon Fisher. She said, Ms. Miller, words are inadequate to thank you for your generosity, kindness, and authentic stance. My life is better for having you in it. Know that you have changed my life for the better.
My dear, you have changed my life for the better. You've given me purpose. You've given me purpose. I've made lemonade out of lemons. And you know, I'm second generation cadre of New York designers. The first are recorded. You hear me talk about recorded here, Communications Art, 1970. I will always shout out to Dorothy Hayes. Okay, the 49 designers in front of me in New York City, to which I know several of these here, you know, so they were older, but I'm young enough, we were there together, and these guys were in front of me. And I'm so happy to report her niece allowed Stanford University to collect her professional archive. And oh my God, we're going to be releasing, I've gotten permission, I'll be lecturing at the Poster House, a juxtaposing type lecture. They're running Milton Glaser show, Pushpin era. And I'm going to be, I've gotten clearance from Stanford. I'm going to be, the collection isn't open yet, but I'm working with Stanford Libraries to show you some photographs. Dorothy Hayes and her artifacts from that article, 1970. I could cry. She's standing with George Olden and with Herb Blue Allen at the exhibit.
Yeah, I have an announcement to make about that project, but there's another question from Michelle.
Yeah, so anyway, we're going to be, the collection isn't open yet. And so it's going to take time for it to open. But, and I also want to say that I know several of the heirs, and we're going down that list. And so we're bringing in the history of Black graphic design in North America. That collection is growing. Sheldon Dix, Time Inc., art director. The invitations, like I said, I'm finding the heirs I'm collecting boxes and I'm leaving it for you so that you'll write. I'm just leaving footnotes. If I get a couple books out myself, I'll be doing good. But I'm doing this so that you guys can do more than just Google. Tasheka, what's really important is I remember things that are in card catalogs. You can't research if you don't even know to look in a card catalog.
Right.
If you just look to Google, it only, Google is 1997. Our whole story is in memory banks, oral traditions, card catalog. That stuff's got to come out and forward. You don't even know to go get something if and my thing is, I'm on the other side of this history, but I was there. I can tell you as far back as I can. And some of these, listen, I'm looking now for Otis Sullivan, okay? And I know Otis, Ted Shear. I mean, these guys, I know several of them personally, and their kids are my age. So I'm like, can I have daddy's, what are you guys doing with those boxes? They were famous. They need to go in the library for everybody. So anyway, what's the next question? Anyway, that's what I'm doing.
So Michelle asks, what recommendations would you offer to BIPOC persons who are impacted by the internal racism when they're in the rooms of decision makers who are okay with misrepresentation of DEI?
What are they supposed to do?
Yeah, how to handle a situation when you're in the room and they're making decisions about misrepresenting diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Well, it all depends on how vested you're in your job. Okay. I say that because you can't carry the whole weight of trying to make things right. And after, you have to kind of, like they say, you're gonna have to know how to hold them and fold them. And how vested are you into your bills? All right. So what I'm sharing with you is that I've been unapologetic because I didn't have anything to lose and everything to gain. And not many are in that position to be as bold. So you have to kind of weigh, all right, how much good trouble are you going to make? All you can do is to bring these things to light. And Tasheka, one of the things that it's really, the only thing I have had is meritocracy, because I didn't have favor, all right, with the powers to be. All I had was my work. And that's all you have, is to be excellent. Excellent. You got to be better than. And you can come up with data. So sometimes come to the table. You got to come to the conversation with data. See, I come to the conversation with footnotes. Oh. Oh, you can't deny facts. You can't deny science. So if you believe something, you got to go back and find your data and bring it to the table, and I don't know what research that is. And so that's why the research for, that I'm teaching, in my classes, when you present, make sure you have your data. And your footnotes. When I write, you got to have your footnotes. What are your sources? So you just can't come and, I don't like that. Well, like, okay, I don't like that either. All right. And you're never going to win that way. Okay. So if you're really passionate, come to table with design, with concept, with importance and facts. And that moves. That's why I'm working on collecting all of this research. And I leave a Cheryl Miller footprint and quote everywhere. I'm not trying to brag anything. I want you people to write. Cheryl Miller said, Tasheka said, okay, footnotes, your scholar. I'm here because I wrote one thesis. And here I am, one thesis. And what I did in that one thesis, oh my God. But I did have a lifetime academic coach, Dr. Leslie King Hammond. Okay, she's been an academic coach since I met her, 50 years. Like, Cheryl, look again. Cheryl, look again. Cheryl, look over there. I'm writing and it's just like, get the footnote, get the footnote, get the footnote, get the data. And even with Professor Sandstone's article, I'm like, it presents data. And that's what white default requires. So come to a design table with some demographic and data. I think we should be doing this because of this. Mm-hmm. You got to do more than pretty design. If you are passionate about pushing an envelope forward, it's the statistic. And Maurice Cherry will tell you, okay, his voice resounds because of his statistics. I'm here because of my footnotes. Oh my God. And I ask questions and give answers to questions people don't even think. Oh, I didn't think to ask that. It's research and data, statistics, footnotes. And my goal now is, before I die, before I wake, is to get my colleagues and my friends, my peers, what do you remember? What do you do? What did you save? Put it in the library. It's for you all to do the scholarship. And some of your PhDs, I'm like, oh my God, they're titled to things I can't even, what manner of design is this? I'm trying to give you, go to the library and you're going to find the data and the footnotes. And listen, I'm working on my manuscripts. Okay, you're going to get about 3 or 4 books out of me before I go to glory. But the rest of the work is I'm doing my best to inspire myself and my friends and my colleagues, the ones who remain and the ones who know, the ones who've been prominent and those who've got a story. The collection is from the eldest. We just lost Reynold Ruffins, but I got his signature. I got his signature, and he sent me his work, and I sent it. Stanford got the deed of gift, and he wrote me. He said, "Cheryl, make sure." And he sent me a package of work to send to Stanford. Okay, I'm just giving you footnotes so you all have some place to begin to do your research. So I'm not all over the place just talking just to be talking. I'm leaving footprints. I'm leaving the story. It's a AIGA 99 recording, blah, 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 she said. Okay, you hashtag it, use it. Write your thesis, write your dissertations, make your points, write your articles, prove it, move the needle. And it's more than a little tempest in a teapot. Right. It is. It's critical thinking and being able to back it up. All right. And all I have ever had is, wow, you do good work. I'm like, well, that's all I have. I'm attention getting. It's all I had. Next question. I love you guys. I could go on and on. Like one of my designers says, Miller, you're endless. Yeah. And I don't want anybody to go through not one moment of what I went through, or have to work this hard. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I want to say that your collection at Stanford is going to be really, that collection is going to be really powerful over the next few years and even decades, because there isn't one like it that exists. right now at all. Not even with with having your collection and Dorothy Hayes's collection and Renault collection.
And I'm working with the families. See, the families know, like Selden Dix's family, he's first Black art director, Time magazine. They know, they might not have understood, but they know Dad did something important. Right. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so glad it's gonna go somewhere.
Yes, those collections in the archives are reasons I was able to do research on Louise Jefferson. It's because a friend of hers donated her whole estate to archive, you know, in New Orleans. And I would have never known or discovered her work had it not been there, or even be able to see it. But that project at Stanford, I've been in communication with Regina Roberts there, and I talked to her about visiting there to do some research. I'll be working with the Herb Lubalin Center, and we're working on bringing that the Black Artists and Graphic Design Communication exhibition to an online space. So we're working on making it online, and I'll be doing a lot of writing and research for the 49 designers that was a part of that show back in 1970. So when I talked to Regina about it and she told me that she had Dorothy Hayes' collection there, that was everything.
Of course. And then, you know, my peers, we knew you want us. We know the 50 people. Okay. And I just invited Douglas Davis and Andrew Bass. Yes. Okay. They Douglas shared an office with her. See, you have to get from us those who can remember.
Right. No.
Okay. And these were her mentees. I just asked Douglas, could he pull together a list of her mentees? They're the ones that can tell you who she is. The boxes record, but it's who this woman is. They lived with her. They worked with her. She implanted seeds in them. If you want to know Dorothy Hayes, you call Andrew Bass. Okay? And they're over there at New York University. Douglas shared an office with her. See, so there are many of us because of this, our age. All right, our age. We were there. And now, you know, because of Cheryl's big mouth and where she is, the families are, you know, sharing with me for a better good, a greater cause. You know, and they've been burdened. I know. Look, I just asked Miss Scher, Marianne Scher. I just asked. I'm hoping she will contribute in. Her husband and her father-in-law are prominent in New York, and he's best known. Her husband is best known for that iconic life photograph of John. It's these things that I'm burdened with to make sure my memory bank is empty so that you guys can research. And there are people who walk with Dorothy, and I just shared, go after Andrew and go after Douglas. He shared an office with her. And Andrew Bass told me that she gave him the exhibition book for safekeeping.
Right.
See, it's that kind of, I got to give that to you because I don't have time to go after that.
Right.
But I got to make sure you know, and everybody else does. This is, and genealogy. I know who are mine. I hashtag Cheryl Miller. I know who I have mentored. We come from someone. We have, and that's why I asked Douglas, I said, Douglas, please make a list of who belongs to Dorothy. We have design DNA, and we have, like, Tasheka, listen, the article today on Cheryl Miller, I on Design, listen to me carefully. They feature my picture when I was a Girl Scout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And everyone wants to know, Cheryl, who are you? Who are you from? Who are you made from? Right? And in the article, they list it. And in the footnote, it's down in the footnote. My Girl Scout house sold for just under $1 million in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And it was acclaimed on my Instagram. Okay? The architect for the house, mid-century, Robert P. Madison, studied with Walter Gropius, Harvard. He's German design, mid-century trained. He built my Girl Scout house. And people want to know, well, how did you get inspired? I went to Girl Scout meeting in one of the finest mid-century architecture, German-inspired Bauhaus, whatever, blah, 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 by the first Black architect of Ohio, built my Girl Scout house. These are the seeds in me. I gotta get, Robert P. Madison is in me. How do I know? Because my Girl Scout award, I knocked off a Picasso, and here I am. And when they sold the house, the article, I'm like, oh my God, look at this. When they sold the house, in the article today, they note the article that was written by the Washington Post trying to sell the house from the original owners. Prominent Dr. Jack White, he's a surgeon, and I'm trying to get from his family, did he ask Madison to buy the house and this, that, and the other? This house was gorgeous, and you can see it. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Washington Post just ran, a realtor's marketing piece. The history of this house I grew up in every Saturday morning. It just took a hold of me. It took a hold of me. The design took a hold of me. What can I say? And so if I don't document, well, where were your influence? I said, my Girl Scout house, which was the finest, built by the first Black architect of Ohio, who was trained by Gropius at Harvard. And that's how it got in me. You got to do this critical work on your own story. It's like, no wonder. And my whole house is mid-century, except my Zoom milk. Okay, I can't help myself. I'm a designer. I grew up with this stuff all around me. And until we can kind of do that critical work on ourselves, we don't know where we've been, we don't know where we are, and we don't know where we're going. And so just for me to be able to acknowledge, he's smiling. I'm looking at his picture right now on Instagram. You go over there and see him. Okay. Yeah. They're talking about his house now. And it's the house where the little brownie who won the Girl Scout award at 10 years old is talking to everybody about design now. Thank you, Mr. Madison, for inspiring my life by the Saturday morning in your beautiful architecture. Most beautiful home in Washington, D.C. Just sold for under $1 million. And they tell me architects bought it. If I could have bought it, if I didn't have enough stuff going on, I'd have bought it just to say that was my Girl Scout house. Okay, so you want to see that house? He's on my Instagram. One of the links down at the bottom.
Link.
Yeah, one of the links, the resource links for the article. And the article notes, the house was featured a brownie troop.
Yes.
At the Washington Post. So guess what? I got lineage, but I got to work this backward. Thank you, Mr. Madison, the first Black architect trained at Harvard. Okay. What can I say? We're young as a people. We're young in this business, but we have a history all the way back from the erasure of the slave artisan. This is my writing, everybody wants to, beautiful infographics. But I keep telling everybody, oh, I'm going to write you some stuff about W.E.B. Du Bois and his sociology and his discussion of the slave artisan. Oh my goodness. The infographics are beautiful, but what he tells you about the erasure of us in this business,
Right.
it worries me until it's written from Cheryl Miller. And all I'm doing, Tasheka, is leaving everybody footprints so they can continue creating history and dialogue. I could talk this forever. I'm, one of my designers said, Cheryl, you're endless. You're absolutely endless. I'll take one or two more questions. I know
Any
everybody
more
wants to go.
questions?
Yeah, any more questions? And I'll tell you where I'm next, okay? I'll be zooming at the next AIGA. I'll be in Washington. And this is beautiful because I couldn't get on. And then the pandemic, you're not going to get me on an airplane, going all around for masks. And, you have to follow me on Facebook. I'm crazy. I go out with shields and everything else. God protects those who protect themselves. Give it all to me. And I don't leave the house. So this is the best thing. This is the best thing. I'm meeting everybody. I love you all. You all are the best. One or two more, Catherine. I'm good.
I don't see any other questions coming up in the chat or in the Q&A, but you had just mentioned your future appearances. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you both have planned coming up? Because I know that there's some incredible projects, speaking opportunities, and on, and I would like to hear what's going on next.
Tasheka, you go.
Let's see. So I mentioned that I'll be working with the Herb Lubalin Center to create a website of the exhibition of the Black designers in communication from 1970 that was at RISD. So that's something I'm working on. Hopefully we're looking at the end of the year to have that. You mentioned earlier about my essay, Renaissance Black Woman, Louise E. Jefferson, that's in Baseline Shift. That's coming out next month. I wrote an essay for a project called The Nameplate, and it's about the history of the nameplate and its influence on sort of the hip hop community. I have an essay in that's basically sort of critiquing the topography, the sort of more graphic design aesthetics and styles of the nameplates. I'll be at AIGA, be in a symposium there. I think it's called Independent Research. I'll be there with Kelly Walters, Pierre Bowens, a few other BIPOC designers, talking about how important it is to do this research, this independent research, alluding to some of the stuff that Cheryl just finished talking about, right? But you have going on, Cheryl. I don't want to go on and on, so I'll just stop.
I know you're not doing imposter syndrome on me. I know. Listen, Cheryl is just doing Cheryl, okay? If I see your green light on, I'm there. We do have, I'm at AIGA DC in October. And my husband is doing some publicity stuff on it, a homegrown girl coming home kind of thing. DC Public Schools. Yeah, you don't come home like this out of DC Public Schools without, and I'm fourth generation Washingtonian. I'm a DC girl, I can hand dance. So we're gonna be zooming in Design Week. I'm doing my juxtaposition showing more of 1968. For the 1968 is an incredible year in my memory bank. And so I'm presenting that at the Poster House, New York. Graciously, I have the Cooper Hewitt and all of their ceremonies to share in. They've been doing documentaries for everyone, and so those films will be released. AIGA, I'm going to be national at the conference for that. I'm going to be at I'm hoping everything will work out and that we're not locked in, and I can travel. I'm hybrid with the University of Texas, and so I will be going to Austin, and my friends at IBM there as well. I'll be in Austin, and I will be in Denver, and I will be with Pierre in February in Eastern Shore. I'm going to stop by and see the Dix family.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And the big thing that I'm doing is I have 2 main manuscripts that this year I'm writing. Texas has given me the Doty professorship, which allows me to teach and coach their senior capstone classes. And I'm developing that branding for diversity. And I'm writing the book that they allowed me to develop my class last, which is I'm retitling the book, Graphic Design History, Decolonized, the Black graphic design perspective. I talk about the canon, and basically I'm writing the book that goes to the course that both Roger Williams and University of Texas. I want to shout out to Nikki. She allowed me to teach, and as I think it was distinguished scholar, something, blah, 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 in residence. And between the 2 classes, Roger Williams and University of Texas, they allowed me to work out the basic canon. Okay, so this is not a Black history book. That's not a Black history book. This is a Canon Plus book. So I gave you some sampling of it at the top. Okay, where I take the course. The course is completed. Okay, so I developed the course, and now Texas is allowing me to write the book that goes with the course. So that I'm doing my writing, and I'm addressing the writing. People want me to review, write forwards, introductions, that kind of thing. And I always tell Tasheka, just give me. I don't need to fill up a book. Just a little 3 paragraphs, sentences on the back of the book. I'll do that for you. The 3 sentences on the back of the book. Okay. And what I learned about publishing is really who writes your forward makes a book. And so with that, I'm receiving those invitations to write forwards, which is very, very important to books of scholarship. Whoever, that's just a publishing tip. No matter, it doesn't have to be me. It's just be very discerning in particular who writes your forward, because that makes your book. And so there's so many people to thank. Like they say in the church, forgive not my mind, but it's in my heart, whatever, one of those little cliches. There's so many people to thank. And especially my designers that have been with me, God knows, for decades. They've put up with I'm a taskmaster, because the hurdles I had to jump required people believing in my vision. And I'm like, we got to work extra. We got to work hard. No, we can't leave the studio. No, we got to come to work on Saturday. And my original designers and my team of photographers, and we were in New York City, so every day was a miracle. And I'm a businesswoman. Every day I had to pay the rent, so all I had was a good job. That's all I've ever had. So what I'm doing this year is I'm writing well for you all. And I'm collecting all the data for you all, so you all can do this work. Okay. I always tease, when y'all go on these tours and stuff, did somebody get Miss Miller? Is she on the bus? That's all I ask. Don't forget me. That's all I ask. And then when the tour bus takes on, everybody got Miss Miller? Where is she? I thought you were in charge of Miss Miller. You left her? You left her in security? No. You didn't make sure she got on the plane. Okay, that's all I ask. Just take me, make sure I don't even have to sit in the front. Just don't let the plane pull off and I'm not there. Okay, because these guys, Tasheka, Kalina Sales, listen, you just got to follow me. The superstar Trey, Maurice, Cyrus, everybody, Pierre, that we got a whole tribe. You want to hashtag us all, we're all family. We're all family.
Sure.
And we've come so far and we're here to be a blessing for you. That's it. That's it. That's it, Catherine. That's it.
Well, thank you for being so willing to share your experiences with all of us. And I will say again that absolutely follow Cheryl, follow Tasheka. They are on every social media platform in some way. They're around and accessible. And we are tremendously honored that we had you both here at AIGA Boston for the kickoff event for our season. Thank you so much both for your time, all of your time this evening. Obviously, we ran a little bit past our end time, but I wanted to make sure that we could get everything out of you that we could while you were here, because you'll probably be busy in the next 6 months doing all of these things.
All these things. And I thank everyone who's had the patience to stay with us. Okay. And that shows me, your passion for your own journey. Mm-hmm. And so may something that we've done today inspire you to keep going in spite of. And Tasheka, it's my dear daughter. You're always in my heart. Tasheka won't say it. What? She won't say it. So I'm going to say it to whoever's listening. She is one of the top Black female graphic designers, and forget the Black, she's one of the top designers in this country. And not emerging, no. This lady, wait, listen to me. Listen to me. We invited her for our experiment, diverse crit. Oh my God, I would not want to be a student and she giving me a crit. This lady can give a crit. She sit back and listen, and she come out and I'm like, whoa, this lady can give a design crit. And I said, where'd you go to school, girl? Where did you go to school? At Cal Arts. I said, oh, no wonder. Hey, wait. So she's not going to tell you she's a wonder. Cheryl Miller will. And you invite her. If you're a professor and you got to do that jury thing, call her. This one can do a crit. And I'm like, wow. I was so impressed. I said, yeah, I repeat myself. I want you to know. I said, where did you go to school? Cal Art. I said, oh. She's good, guys. Good. Excellent.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, you're the best. You're the best. And she's doing all this writing and all I ever say to her is just don't forget me. Every time I see her, please don't forget me. Please just don't forget me. Don't lose me in history. Don't lose me in the card catalog. She's good, guys. So there you go. That's my shout out for Tasheka. Okay. So we got some divas. I haven't had time. Okay. I haven't had time. I want to do a Design and Diva conference. Okay. The Black women designers only. I really do. I just need a sponsor, IBM or somebody, Amazon.
Just put it out there.
Mary Kay, something, just so I can, give the speakers a few, honorariums and, throw a party. Let me show you the Design and Divas out here. Okay. Young to old. Oh, listen, we got a future and it's here now.
Absolutely. Well, I am looking forward to the Designing Divas conference whenever it comes together.
I don't know when it is.
Sure, IBM, AIGA, Adobe, someone out there listening right now will hop on it.
Yeah, just call Cheryl Miller. You want to sponsor Designing Divas? Listen. And I got Miss Ricks, Tiffany Ricks over the Hughes Summit. Listen. I said, Tiffany, will you help me if I come up with Designing Divas? She said, oh, Miss Miller, absolutely. So, I just make sure I get on the plane and I have a seat on the bus. And I don't require much. Just tell me you love me every now and again. And don't call me Nana. Don't call me Nana or Granny. Just Tia, Auntie, Ate, Po. No Nana, no Abuela, none of that. Okay. I'm everybody, like Trey, I'm Trey's auntie. Just make sure I'm auntie and you remember me. Okay. Right. I love you people.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much again. And for all of the people that are hanging in there, I know that there's a lot of design educators in the audience and generally curious people. We're going to go back through the talk and provide a full list of resources and share that out once we send out our post-event survey and a couple of other items. So look out for that, because there were a lot of new resources that were dropped for the first time this evening that I'm sure that everybody's going to be interested in getting to know more about. So that is coming. And again, keep an eye out for the recording of this to be released. And with that, thank you, AIGA community. Thank you to the team for helping to put this together. There were an enormous amount of hands that helped assemble this. We really appreciate everybody's positive spirit and all the volunteers that have helped. And with that, we will hopefully see you again September 28th for our community meeting.
Yep. And you're more than welcome to find me on LinkedIn. And the other thing that I do on LinkedIn, okay, is I post jobs. So people always send me jobs, and then I put, if you see me right here, and IBM today said, I reposted, IBM posted looking for designers, and Crystal said to me, Cheryl, I hope your network will apply. And I said, so I wrote her offline, and I said, you want my network? I said, I'll look, go to my LinkedIn, see my post today, my repost from IBM, Crystal Weber, and she wants my network to apply for IBM jobs. Come on, guys, party over here. All right, so follow me on LinkedIn. You're more than welcome. I accept everyone. And watch, I'm big on getting jobs. Okay, so make sure when you see, I repost the jobs that come to me, and everybody trusts me, right, and my network. So I always say right here, and what I want you to do is apply and prosper. Okay, bye-bye, guys. Love you.
Great, thank you.
I could take a deep breath and start again, and we're not going to do that. Are we still having an after party?
Yes.
Okay. See you guys. I love you guys.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.